Hi, this is Kat at inkingpaperwithkat.com. Welcome to my craft room. Today's project is this little seasonal Chums gift box. See the cute little reindeer and his dangling jingle bell? And when you open it up, it has three little compartments. One for a Vaseline pink bubbly lip therapy, another for a tinted Burt's Bees balm, and some chocolate. Everybody needs chocolate. To make this project, we are going to use a piece of 6 by 10 3/4 inch cardstock. This is Cherry Cobbler from Stampin' Up! We also need a piece of cardstock that is 3 by 3 and a piece of Whisper White that is about 3 by 3 for stamping. We need some DSP. We need to have a piece that is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Another piece that is 3 1/2 by 5. 2 1/4 by 5, and 4 pieces that are 1 by 3/4. We'll also need a scrap of Whisper White for stamping. That's about 1 by 4 inches. We're going to use stitched shape framelits. We are using the Seasonal Chums stamp set from Stampin' Up! We're going to use this cute little reindeer. And for the greeting, we're using Wishes All Aglow. Just a little jingle to make your Christmas bright. We're also going to be using the new Stampin' Up! Blends. These are alcohol markers. Stampin' Up! Just came out with them. And we're going to work with those to color our image today. So let's get started. The first thing we need is our Simply scoreboard. And let's make sure we have this in camera for you. We are going to start with the long side at the top, and we are going to score at 1 1/4, 4 3/4, 6, and 9 1/2. Turn it to the short side, and we are going to score at 1 1/4 and 4 3/4. Alright, that's all of our scoring done. Now what we need to do is fold and burnish all of these score lines. And I apologize for my voice. I've had a cold and haven't been able to actually do any videos for a few days because I didn't have much of a voice at all, but it seems to be coming back, so I'm hoping that is the case. Alright, let's do some cutting. We are going to cut with the long side at the top. We're going to cut up each of these lines to the first horizontal score line. We're going to take some small wedges out of each of those small flaps. They're the ones that are more square in shape. Do the same thing on the other side. This would, while it's done for as a Christmas box, this would actually be a great little gift for somebody who is getting over a cold. or hopefully not the flu. And we all know that we're now into that season where it is more common for somebody to not be feeling well, and the nice lip balms certainly help when your lips are dry and chapped. All right. Now before we put our box together, let's get our DSP on. So if we flip it over, the square piece will go on the top. Now this is directional paper. I don't know how well you can see. Those are tiny little reindeer, and we want them standing in the right way, not standing on their heads. So you need to decide which is the top of your box. Either one works, but once you put this down, that is the top of your box. So we're going to take some fast fuse and adhere that to the top. Of course, you want to center it as best you can. All right. These now are the 4 edges that are going to need our DSP, and we have 4 pieces. And again, as you're adhering them, you're going to want to think about the direction of your pattern. If you're using a pattern that doesn't have a direction, so for example, if you were using this back side, it wouldn't matter. But when you've got a directional print, then you need to give that some thought. So again, we want our reindeer going in the right direction. Okay, we have 2 more sides to do. Alright, now we can put our box together. To put our box together, we are going to put our adhesive on the tabs. Alright, this is the bottom of our box. It doesn't have the DSP. So 4 of our tabs are going to fold into the bottom of our box. Line your edges up and adhere those. And this is the top of our box. The other thing we want to do is take a small circle punch and just punch a little thumb hole right in the center of the bottom of the top of your box, and it folds up like that. Alright, for our interior, to build the compartments, we're going to use the other 2 pieces of our DSP. Again, take a Simply scoreboard, and with the larger piece, you're going to put it in on the long side, and we want to score it at 2 1/4, at 3, and at 3 3/4. And with the shorter piece, with the long side at the top, we are going to score at 2, 2 3/4, and 3 1/2. Alright, with these pieces, find your center score line and fold that up. And the other 2 score lines are going to fold down. So you've got a mountain fold like that. Do that with both pieces. And then just take your bone folder and run it over. Now I want to take some snail and just run it in one of those folds and adhere it. So now it's like that. Do the same thing with the other one. And that's just so that it looks nice and smooth. Alright, you're going to fit one into your box. And you're going to fit the other one into your box. And you may have to fiddle with it for a bit to get it to lay nice and flat. And if it isn't laying flat, then you can always cut a sliver off the edge. It's really hard to make sure that you get it exactly the way you want it. Once you know you're okay, turn it over to the back, run some snail down, and get it in the box, press it down really well. Same thing on the other piece. And then you put your goodies in. So we've got some chocolate pieces, we've got our lip balm, and, well, we actually have 2 lip balms. I don't know if you use this Burt's Bees tinted balms, but they are fabulous. I really like them. Alright, that's our box done. Now let's work on the decoration. So for the decoration, we are going to stamp first because we want to give our stamp a little bit of time to dry before we start coloring. So I only want the front of the reindeer. This is a front and a back. I don't care about the back, so I'm just putting the front of my reindeer on my stamp block. I'm taking a piece of masking tape, which is kind of like a Post-it. You can use a Post-it or Scotch tape or anything else. We are using Memento ink. That is the recommended ink to use with your blendables. You could also use your Stampin' Up! Markers. You could use the colored pencils, however you like to color. And you want to center your little reindeer, stamp, give it that second to absorb the ink, and that is your image done. Let's set that aside and let it dry. While it's drying, we are going to take our stitch shapes, and we're using the circle framelits. We need to use the largest one for our cherry cobbler. And we're going to run that through our Big Shot. You have your magnetic plate, a cutting pad, your paper, your die, another cutting pad, and just roll it through. And now we are going to go ahead and cut out our image while we have our big shot up on the table. Center it in the second largest circle. And run it through. Alright, let's move the big shot out of the way. That's all of the work with that. Alright, let's take our little image and we want to do some coloring. Now the blendable markers come in sets of 2, or you can buy the entire set. When you get a set of 2, you get a light and a dark, and we're going to use the crumb cake. We're going to start with the light. There's 2 tips. There's a brush tip and a fine tip. We're using the brush tip. And we are just going to color our little reindeer. We're not doing a lot of fancy coloring, just getting it laid down. Now if you were trying to mass produce these for some reason, I think you would probably want to get your images all stamped and maybe sit while you watch TV and color them that way all at one time. Now to add some depth, we're going to come in with our darker crumb cake and put our shadows in. Decide where your shadows are going to be. And then we're coming back with our lighter color and smoothing that out. I'm going to take the dark color and do his hoofs and his antlers. Then I'm using cherry cobbler. Again, it comes in a light and a dark. And I am going to use the finer tip to do the bow. And his nose. Then I'm going to come in with the darker one and just add a little bit of accent there. And now I'm going to use the light, well actually I'm going to go with the pink. This is a Pirouette Pink Light. And we're just going to add some little pink to his ears. We're using the light Daffodil Delight for the little jingle bell. Alright, that's our little reindeer colored. You can see it does go rather quickly. Now what we're going to do is add this little jingle bell. And to add the jingle bell, what we need to do is take our piercing tool, and I'm using this little foam mat that I use to hold it, and I am going to poke a hole on either side of the bell. Alright, let's see if we can zoom in so you can see that. I don't think you're going to be able to. But there is a hole on either side of that bell. Take a piece of linen thread, and actually any kind of thread would work with this, and from the back thread it through the hole. Alright, now we're going to thread our jingle bell on. Take your thread, here's a tip, take your Versamark ink and run your thread through it. That helps those threads that are twined together to stay together while you feed it through the little hook on the end of your jingle bell. Alright, and there's your little bell on. Now you're going to feed your thread through from the front, the other hole that you made. And I just use something with a point and kind of push it through and help it through. Grab it from the back. Now when you pull it through, don't get it so tight that it won't move at all. You want that little bit of motion. You don't want a lot, but a little bit. So loosely tie it in the back in a knot. Trim your edges or your ends. And then we are going to use dimensionals to pop this up. Center it on your cherry cobbler cardstock that you've die cut. And I'm going to use some more dimensionals. Pop it up on our box. Whoops. Pulled that one right off the back. Okay, now I'm centering it, but I'm also pushing it a little bit towards the top because we do need to get our greeting on there. Alright, let's get our greeting on, and we need our small piece of Whisper White and our greeting. Stamp block. We are using Memento black ink. Make sure you've inked it up well. Now, when I stamp this, I want to stamp as close to the bottom and the edge as I can, because we're going to have to trim this out. Alright. Now, I think it's easiest, honestly, to just trim it by hand. rather than to try to get it back into your cutter, but it is strictly up to you to figure out what you want to do and what is easiest for you. But with a long pair of scissors, it is easy to trim it out. And make sure you've trimmed it enough that it's going to fit. We're going to use the mini dimensionals to adhere this. If you have the foam strips, you could also use those. Make sure you put some in the center because otherwise it is going to collapse. Let's bring our box back up. Take the backing off of our dimensionals. And put our sentiment on. And there you have it. Cute little reindeer box. It would make a lovely gift. Great stocking stuffer, or just something to say, I hope you feel better soon. I hope you enjoyed the project and give it a try. See you soon.